Hey, welcome back to the next belief video. There is a voice that most people carry around with them. Sometimes it's loud, sometimes it's just this quiet undercurrent, but it's always there, offering this running commentary on what you're doing, how you're doing it, what you are worth, what you should expect. And most people assume that that voice is them, their own I am, their own settled sense of who they are. A lot of it is not originally theirs at all, though. I am beliefs don't only form through direct experience, they also form through what we are told, directly and indirectly, by the people and environments around us, as we were growing up especially. And when something gets repeated often enough by people who have authority over us, it stops sounding like something someone else said, and it starts sounding like something we know. Starts sounding like our own voice, something we are. So think about the messages that were in the air when you were growing up. Not necessarily things said directly to you, though. Sometimes they were. The things that were implied or modeled or rewarded or punished, the things you heard adults say about themselves, about other people, about what was possible and what was not. We are so sensitive as creatures, as humans. But things said often enough, that becomes, I am too much. I am a burden. I am someone who feels things too deeply for other people to handle comfortably. That is the I am underneath the messages. That is the belief that starts to take root, take up residence. Money doesn't grow on trees, said often enough in a certain tone, and that becomes, I am someone who has to be careful with money. I am not the kind of person who has abundance. I am someone who should not want too much. See how the original statement was about money. The I am that formed was about identity, about what kind of person you are and what you're allowed to have. Who do you think you are? Said in a moment of reaching for something that becomes, I am someone who should not reach too high. I am not the kind of person who gets to want big things. I am someone who needs to stay in their lane. There's this ceiling that gets created, and it feels like self-awareness, but it's really a limitation that your belief system formed, that somebody else kind of handed you, not deliberately, and nobody said, here's an I am statement I'm installing in you. It just happens through repetition, through tone, through what got celebrated and what got shut down. And by the time you were old enough to examine any of it, it had already become the voice in your head that felt like yours. It already took up roots. And culture does this too. The messages about what our bodies should look like, what success means, what a good mother or father or partner or professional looks like. These get absorbed so early and so thoroughly that they feel like personal values rather than inherited ones. They become I am statements that you never consciously agreed to, really. I am not disciplined enough. I am behind where I should be. I am not the kind of person who has it together. Some of what you absorb may genuinely align with who you are and what you value. The point is that you probably never got to consciously choose. You received a set of I am statements about yourself before you had the capacity to evaluate them, and many of those statements have been running as your inner voice ever since, shaping what you think of yourself, shaping what you reach for, shaping what you avoid, what you believe you deserve. Getting curious about whose voice something is can be really freeing. So the next time you notice a harsh or limiting thought about yourself, it's worth pausing and asking, what do I have to believe for this I am statement to be true? Is this I am actually mine? Did I arrive at this through my own experience and reflections, or did I just absorb this from someone, circumstances, someone, something a long time ago and just never questioned it? An I am that came from someone else's fear or limitation doesn't have to keep living in your head as your own truth. So Sit with that as we close out this week. It's valuable to spend some time on. Next week, we're going to go into what to do with all of this, how to examine an I am belief and how to question it, and what it looks like when something that has been running for years starts to shift. So to complete this week, write down one specific rule or limitation that you live by that feels heavy. Ask yourself, who told me that? Where did I start to believe that? Write down the name of the person or the institution or the cultural message that originally handed it to you or presented it to you, and just recognize where that originated from, who it really belongs to. Knowing that will help you stop carrying it as your own. Maybe it's just something that got handed to you and you haven't quite put it down. So next week we're going to work at, I hope you spend some time this week really identifying those I am statements. So in the videos next week, you'll be able to know how to work with them and how to start shifting them, really redefining, getting rid of those limiting beliefs and replacing them with more empowering beliefs. So that's all for the beliefs on this week. I hope you have a great weekend. Come join me in the Enjoy Being Human. It's a school community I created. We have live learning session every Sunday. There's a replay that goes in depth on beliefs. There's a replay that goes in depth on deconstructing beliefs. So presentations that I do with teaching and stuff like that. So there's a link in the description that if you are interested in coming and joining the Enjoy Being Human community. Sorry, see my sister's calling. All right, I love you. Take care of yourself. And as always, I'm sending you peace and light.